Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning, America. And good morning, France. Good morning, everywhere in the world.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
Real
some
good.
people are people are sleeping. Anyway, hi everyone. Maybe that goes well.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah,
There we go.
because yeah, it's not good morning here. It's good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Correct.
Yeah,
Yep.
for sure. Yeah,
That's it.
Mr.
How are
Pop.
you today? How are you? How are you?
I'm good. I'm feeling beautifully energetic.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Good energy. Good energy. Good energy is always good.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree with you. And you, how are you
Especially with
doing?
my I'm
You're
doing
drinking
well
a
with my freshly squeezed Tropicana, no pulp orange
okay,
juice. So yeah.
okay. You freshly squeezed it?
Nah, it's just a joke.
Ah, because when you say no pulp, I was like, why do you filter the pulp? It's the pulp is where the food is.
You know what? You know
Yeah.
what? As I pulled it out of the fridge and I'm pouring it,
Mm.
because I don't get the pulp because I don't like the
You don't
all
like
all the
you
stuff.
chewed them, but you chewed them.
Yeah. So as I was pouring it this morning, I was like, you know what? She's gonna say something about this
Oh shit! She
because I
said
read the
something.
label. You know, 'cause I really don't like the pulp.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So as a point, I was like, she's gonna say something about this, and there you have it.
Okay. I'm not saying anything. I'm just
No,
saying,
it's good. It's good.
well, take the
What,
pulp.
what's the difference? What's the difference as far as the pulp? You said it's good for me, right?
If there was the pulp. Oh, okay, Faith. I wouldn't recommend you go for store-bought juices because they have a lot of sugar added to it. But
Gotcha.
also, when you remove the pulp, you just have the sugar actually because the fiber is gone. Since in the pulp you have the fiber.
So I should be purchasing with pulp.
Well,
Okay.
if you have to purchase it, you have to,
Okay.
then do it with the pulp. It's no bad thing with you chewing it up.
Okay.
Chewing is very interesting because the worst thing, and that's maybe something that we have been lied to. It's like now when you drink that juice, you're just having water and sugar, okay? Because that is just the sugar from the fruits. Mind you, they heat the juice, so it reduces the nutrients. And so if you heat the juice, maybe it is not going to taste the same way as
Right.
freshly squeezed juice. So they're going to obviously add some flavors or some sugar into it.
Gotcha.
But here is the thing. When you drink it, you put it in your mouth, you don't like that pulp thing, so your juice goes inside directly. However, the sugar starts being broken in the mouth. That's where the enzymes for breaking the sugar starch is. It's in the mouth. So we are
Mm,
supposed to chew. And if you're not having something to chew, at least let it stay in the mouth for some time. But then when you gargle juice like that, it goes direct into the stomach. It hasn't been digested yet, even if it's going to be fighting some other enzymes there to digest it. But sugar starts being digested in the mouth.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, I learn something new every single nutritious podcast right here on Conversation with Trent Friends podcast, featuring the lovely nutritionist coach Catherine Gettu. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Really good
Thank
stuff.
you.
I
Thank you.
didn't know
Thank you.
anything about that. So yeah, that's good stuff. Real good
Yeah.
stuff. So today's topic.
Yeah. 11 common food myths about healthy food and nutrition.
Okay.
Okay. Nothing, maybe some of them, it's just like you might be on one side thinking it's better. Like just here when you say, I like taking juice that has been filtered versus the one that with pulp. The pulp has more fiber. And since the pulp also has the nutrients into it, you has much more nutrients than when you're just having the water, the juice water or the watery
Gotcha.
juice. Yeah.
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 Like
So the thing is, can I go on?
yeah, go ahead.
Okay. In the world of science, and especially nutrition, things change all the time. Like,
Mhm.
but it's that's one thing within science. It is not linear thing. It's not fixed. So things keep on evaluating, and what was admitted maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, can be put into question, um, and so on. So it's always good to keep track with the informations that we get, and sometimes we can. There are also things like who is sorry, who is translating what you're getting. Okay, because I think some people get things and they hold to themselves as their own ideas instead of just like the way you treat. It's just like, I don't know whether you have had that thing in America. I don't know, you have that thing, the Arab telephone. It's like, when someone says something, they code the telephone, or
Mhm.
maybe that's not the way it used to be. The Arab telephone is you say something, you relate to someone else, who is going to relate to someone else, and by the time it's getting to the 10th person, it's not the same sentence the first person say.
Yeah.
So that's
Watered
how
down.
it
It's
is.
actually watered down after
Yeah,
about
yeah.
4 or 5
So
people. Yeah.
4 or 5 people start putting their own ideas, their own experiences, their own views and beliefs, and so somehow it becomes complicated for us who are just not well educated into the science
Right.
stuff. We get confused. I was there when I started looking for what to eat, and you have this, and on the other side you read another paper, you read something different, you hear someone, a guru, health guru, saying this, another one is saying something different. Like, for example, there is this doctor, I don't know his name, but I have heard him talking several times. But that's sometimes when not the publicity, actually it's like when I'm posting something, the way you post a reels, or you post a post in Facebook or Instagram, and directly something comes up. And so
Mhm.
you start listening, and he's always talking about, like yesterday he was talking, you should not eat cereals like wheat, rye, berry, and oats.
Right.
And from my standing point, I can understand that. But when it's someone else who's listening to that, he's not giving the reasons why. Or he's telling you, you take those out for 30 days and then see what is going to happen. But you didn't give me the reason what is happening. He's saying they're going to prevent the absorption of
Exactly.
nutrients,
Give me
but he's
examples.
not telling the reason. So as you listen, you just say, okay, I'm supposed to remove this, but
Right.
you
And
don't know what it. Mm.
this is why I love podcasting with you on nutrition, because not only do you explain it and break down, you go through the different steps and stage, whatever you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
But you very direct. And it's not just coming from me, it's from the viewers. Like, I have friends that that watch this podcast
Okay.
and listen
Okay.
to the podcast. You're
Okay.
very direct and to the point, and you explain why someone. I'll give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
When you were talking about bread,
Mm-hmm.
you explain exactly why,
Yeah.
what you shouldn't be doing, and what happens to the bread once it enters the body and into the system. So I get it. And
Yeah.
this is why I love podcasting with you on
Thank you.
nutrition.
Thank you. And actually, yeah, that's something that I really find lacks into this medical staff who have either they're against the conventional medicine, or they're on their own, on their own journey, but they're here to
Right,
educate us. But they just bombard things, and you don't understand why are they saying that. Give me the reason why I should stop eating oats. If I was here last time talking about gluten, and I said this is what gluten does.
right,
I started writing a book, I think about 3 years ago, about oats, and oats has a lot of things to be said about, but people are eating oats all the time. So
right,
if you tell them remove that, are you telling them why they should? Is it because of gluten? Is it because of pesticides? Is it something else in there?
right.
So yeah, so debunking the myth. So let's start by carbs are bad, the carbohydrates.
Mhm.
Okay. There are people who, by all means, they are not going to eat carbohydrates because, quote unquote, they make you grow fat, right?
Right,
But This is mostly from the um, weight loss industry. Count your carbs, count your calories. You should keep your carbs from this and that. But carbohydrates are sugar, and the body actually works fast with sugar. So, if, for example, take your potato, you take a potato, and or maybe you're taking a sandwich because that's most of what people eat. You take your sandwich has bread and has meat, for example. Could be ham, it could be anything, could be an egg or whatever it has as protein. And you have some that's what how do you make your how do you make your sandwiches there? If I say it in France, I'll say maybe they put salad inside there, lettuce, some
Um,
onions and tomatoes.
the same way here in the States,
Okay.
lettuce, tomatoes, pickles. It
Okay.
depends on, a person's choice on what they're going to put on
Okay.
the sandwich. But typically, lettuce, tomatoes, pickles, stuff like that.
Okay. So you have the bread that is coming with the carbohydrates, and you have the protein, which is maybe meat, ham, bacon, whatever it is. And then you have the other veggies. They don't have much carbohydrates as per se. So the
Hmm.
body is fast going to break down the sugar because that's what's going to give the energy fast. Okay. And then it's going to have to work with the protein. So
Right.
carbohydrates are good when they come from whole foods. Okay. So you like, if I say we go again to the sandwich, you have white bread, and now it has carbohydrates, and those
Hmm.
carbohydrates don't have any nutrients in them. So those are empty carbohydrates, the empty carbs. You ate carbohydrates, they didn't help you with anything apart from they added some calories into your diet. Okay.
Right.
At the end of the day, you might end up feeling hungry because you didn't eat any nutrient with that bread. Any, maybe let's not say it's zero nutrients, but it doesn't have the nutrients as if that bread was whole bread. Okay. The same thing we talk about white rice, pasta, for example. And I say again, once again, processed. I'm talking about processed foods here because you can have whole wheat bread, you can have whole wheat pasta, you can French fries, for example. Those are bad carbohydrates. You don't need them because once again, they comes with fat and that's something else. But if you eat your potato with the skin, you roast your potato and you eat it, or you boil it with
Hmm.
the skin, those are good carbohydrates and they're giving you nutrients. Okay. So carbs are not bad if they're eaten in a healthy diet and they're eaten in their whole form. Okay.
You see what I mean? Just prove my point. You break down why. You're always giving the why. So that's good stuff, man.
Okay. The second one is fresh vegetables are more nutritious than frozen. I mean, when you eat your frozen, do you eat frozen fruits or where do you
No,
get your
I don't.
vegetables from? You don't
Not,
eat.
I don't do. No, I don't do anything frozen fruits. I don't do that.
Why?
I like fresh vegetables because remember I used to garden.
Okay, got
The
it.
taste
But
is
you,
completely totally different. So
it's that's for sure. That's for
yeah.
sure. They taste completely different. And so the question here is, we can talk about the taste for sure. Fresh tastes much better than frozen,
Mhm.
but the most people I've had here doctors on the TV say go and get your frozen vegetables. They don't have any difference with those you get from the market or from the fresh produce.
Completely
Um,
different in my opinion.
the thing is, nutritional wise, the frozen food, I dare say there are very few foods that we just pick from the garden and or from the whatever they're harvesting and they put in the
Right.
into the freezer. Mostly there's some fruits they do that, but mostly the vegetables and fruits they're blanched. Blanched means they are put in a bath of hot water or boiling water, and they are then removed. That is to deactivate and to kill any bacteria or whatever they're going inside
Hmm.
the what do you call these things? Any harmful pathogen that could be there. Okay. It
Right.
also it kills the insect and everything. So it makes it safe for people because There are some people who are just going to open that and just put in their casserole and maybe eat them. Me, for example, I love peas. And so
Mhm.
I just like opening the bag, and sometimes I'll leave them there, they thawed, and I'll eat them without having to cook them because they were already cooked.
Right,
Okay. Blanching, they are not cooking, they're just, now the thing is, at what degree is the water the one they are blanching with? It
right,
could be maybe 100, it's 100, it's boiling, so I don't know. At least they have uh, pre-cooked them. So when you put some vegetables, especially when they are open, and fruits, they are going to leave the vitamins in the water. So that's
right.
like why we always say, if there is any cooking, you should not, okay, apart from deep frying, the other cookings like boiling, you should avoid boiling your food, because if you boil and then you throw the water, you're throwing the baby with the
Taking
water.
everything out. Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you throw the nutrients with the water. So frozen food, we have to know it has been blanched, and so it lost some nutrients. The fact that it is put into the ice, it's now
Right.
frozen. The ice breaks down the cellular of the vegetables,
Mhm.
releasing as well some food, the nutrients. And I don't know whether you have ever taken a bag of frozen fruit, you keep it on the table or on the counter, and then you come and use it 1 hour or 2 hours after. It's just a flood of water
Right.
because the ice went inside. That's not the way it was packed, but the ice went inside, broke down the fiber, and now the fruits are left without anything. So nutritional wise, it's better than nothing. Okay. But if you really had to compare between having the fresh produce and having frozen, go for the fresh. However, the caveat with the fresh is, which fresh are you talking about? For me, and maybe for you, and a few people, it's they're going to take, like when I go to the market, like tomorrow morning, I go to the market. There are some
Right.
farmers who are in the market at 3 o'clock in the morning picking up the produce. Okay. So I
Oh.
can get it at 7, 8 o'clock at the market,
Right.
right? But if I go to the grocery store, I am not going to get any vegetable that came from France last night.
I
They
get it.
have they have been there, or they were transported, from last week or maybe from the weekend. They may came
Right.
from the Hola, they came from Italy, they came from Morocco, they came from Egypt. You get what I'm saying? So the food is not as fresh as it is. Knowing the moment you pick some foods, not all, when you pick them from the soil, and especially all those that we are going to cut, for example, the spinach, when you're going to cut them so that you just get the leaves, it starts dying that very moment.
Exactly. I
Okay.
got a
So,
confession. I got a confession.
okay.
When I used to garden,
Mhm.
I used to literally, when I'll go out and harvest,
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. Like, I have a Japanese plum tree that I planted years ago.
Mhm.
I pull it straight off the tree and eat it. Don't
Good.
wash it. Don't do anything to it. When I tell you the
Exactly.
best tasting plum I've ever had, you know what I'm
Totally
saying?
agree. Totally agree.
Exactly. I did
Yeah.
that with bell peppers. I did that with anything I had back there. I
Hmm.
wouldn't wash it off at all. Wouldn't wash it
And
off at
and
all.
I wouldn't even tell you to wash them. It's like the same thing like when I was growing up. Back in the up country, we just go get our carrots, for example. You just pull
Mhm.
them up and you start chewing them.
Sure.
You,
Yeah.
you don't clean them. And but apart from the plants that could be, they get to maturity and you have to store them, like corn and potatoes. Most of the things we were getting them freshly from, and that's why, getting a little bit out of the subject, when I look back and see like people saying we were poor, we didn't have fridge. We didn't need any fridge because you're getting your produce from the fruit from the garden. You just cook what
Exactly.
you need for that meal. As we never used to cook the meal for the day, we used to cook that meal for the lunch. In the evening, we cook another meal. Tomorrow, we cook another meal. And so that the way people grew up. And so the fresh vegetables are much nutritious if they are coming directly from the farm. Maybe let's say between 3 4 days they're okay. But if they're
Mm.
coming from the other side of the country, the world, like I love beans, these string beans, the green beans, and Kenya produces very nice green beans, and I get to buy them. I get to see them here in the market, in the grocery stores. And
Mm.
sometimes I can't eat that thing. I don't know when it was harvested and know when it it's from my country, but I'm sorry to say so. But if I'm looking for the nutrition part of it, that thing came from very far. I would like to eat
Exactly.
banana that came from far because banana is what did we say? Um, it's not losing the nutrients. You get?
Gotcha.
I get
Yeah,
the
I get
I get the green bananas from African shops. The green banana is not losing its nutrient because it's already covered, right? So let's talk about. We're talking about more green leaves which are losing their nutrients very fast.
gotcha.
Okay,
I
so
think that as time has gone on, we've gotten so far past the human experience with Mother Earth.
yeah,
We've
that's for
lost
sure.
it. We've lost
We have lost a lot. We have lost a lot. So yeah, that is frozen. They're good. They save life when you don't have, like when I don't have time to cook or when I want to have peas because I can't get peas every other day. This peas only comes, think, between spring and summer.
it. Right.
And I can tell you, I think they go for about 20 to 30 euros a kilo because they have to peel them themselves, the farmers. So it's
Ah,
like you get a cup like this, you're being sold for about 10, 15 bucks. So we don't have another choice. So we go for the peas that have been
wait,
frozen.
how
Okay.
much? How much?
I think it's 20 to 30 kilo a kilo.
Oh,
I think so. I'll see that. But it's quite expensive. It's not something that like you
yeah,
can just eat for every day. They are not a lot, one. And so people really buy frozen peas here. Okay.
right.
The other myth is skipping breakfast helps you to lose weight. Have you ever done that before?
I skip breakfast all the time. Be honest with you,
Do
I do. I do.
not for losing
I
weight.
like. I no, I don't do it for that. I love working out on an empty stomach. So after
Okay.
I work outs, I'll go to the cafe and I'll eat. I eat my breakfast.
So literally, you're not speaking, you're skipping your breakfast. You're just having your breakfast after workout, right?
Correct.
Just like
Yeah.
the way I wake up at 5 and by 5:40 or maybe some when it's going to be summer by 5, maybe I'm out. I might drink some water and I'll come and have my breakfast after
Mhm.
the working because you can't you're going to feel like you feel heavy when you're having your workouts.
Exactly.
But for people who want to lose weight, they feel like there is this thing. If you want to lose weight, skip your breakfast. Well, there is some truth in it, but it all depends. And it depends if you skip that breakfast and you don't eat snacks in between the meals. Okay,
Right.
it's not like the brain is so clever. It's like you're going to miss that breakfast, but somehow when you're starting eating, you remember, oh, you remember I missed the breakfast, so I can always eat as I want.
Hmm.
You get, I can compensate with that because I didn't eat
Right.
breakfast, so I can serve myself an extra because I didn't eat breakfast, right? But we what we don't tell people, what people are not aware of, is no matter how many times you eat in a day, what matters is the calories that you took. So if you skip your breakfast and you take 2,000 calories in that day, and if you eat your breakfast and you take the 2,000 calories in that day, you're still having the same calories, right?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
the only problem comes when you want to lose weight is if you overeat the calories you need in a day. Okay. It's
Gotcha.
just like, yeah, so there is that's just a myth. If you are supposed to eat 200 calories, if you eat those 200 calories the same day, whether you start from midday to the evening, you still have the same effect.
Right.
So
I
it
gotta
doesn't
tell
matter
you,
what.
man, after my workouts and then I
Mhm,
have my breakfast, I
mhm.
feel amazing after. I don't feel heavy. I don't feel sluggish. I
Yeah,
feel great.
because that energy goes somewhere. You eat and it goes to filling the energy, the energy that you use. Because when you're working, you're using the energy that you have stored. Okay,
Hmm.
and so when you get to eat, you fill back that energy. Okay.
Got it.
The fourth one, fats are bad for you. Okay, fat. Like I think it's like me before I came here, I didn't know there was any problem with the fat. But when you get to this industrial world, you hear that you should not eat fat. Fat is bad. Fat is like this. Okay, fat was there before the World War II, but after that there was abundance of food, and so people started to get sick. And what do they point finger to at first? Was fat.
Ah,
However, even after people going fat-free diets, heart disease is still the first cause of mortality. So much to say it didn't change as much. I'm
I'll
not
tell you
saying
something. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm not saying that if you go free, fat-free, you're not going to get some results if you're having problems with heart disease and all that kind of stuff. But fats are not bad for you.
Hmm.
When our bodies need fat, we can't hit you can't hit yourself well if you don't have fat, because your body uses fat to insulate itself during the cold. Just look at the way the animals do during the summer, spring, summer, and autumn. They eat, and they keep that, especially the animals in the north hemisphere, in some parts in the south hemisphere. They eat a lot to accumulate fat so that
Hmm.
they can warm themselves during the summer, the winter, and that fat becomes food as well.
Right.
Okay.
I'll tell you something so funny. Here in
Well,
the States,
yeah,
you're gonna laugh about this.
yeah,
Here in the States, this United States, we believe
yeah.
that France and Europe eats terrible, which is the other way around.
That's funny.
That's honestly, yeah, that's what they think. They think that people in Europe and in France in particular eat terrible.
Now, what do we eat terrible? If you can, they can say.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Talk about a lot of bread and pastries and stuff like that.
There is a misunderstanding, and I could say that's a myth. Okay,
Good stuff.
somehow, I'm here. It's 27th year that I'm in France,
Hmm.
and when I came to France, bread was only sold in a bakery store.
Correct.
Apart from the industrial bread that they're in the packet, the industrial bread,
Right.
but baguette, the naked breads that you see people carrying all the time, they were only sold in the bakery stores,
Right.
la boulangerie. However, with either not, it's the world economy changed. We opened the boundaries. We started seeing how other people were eating on the other side, and so we started having the big, like you go to, yours is more. What Walmart, for example, you have it's self-sustaining, like it
Right.
has everything. That's how they
Right.
started doing it here. So these people who didn't have access to the boulangerie, they start finding muffins, croissant, bread in a bakery's bread store. You're going to buy a bread or two. Okay.
Hmm.
Now you go to the store and you have, maybe for the same amount or maybe less, you have 10 or 7 breads packed together.
Right.
The croissant that you go to the bakery, it's today it's €1 and plus. At when I got here, it was about less than 50 cents. Okay.
Right.
Now that croissant, you go to the bakery, it's a very beautifully made, and it's maybe €1 plus, €1 plus. Okay. You go to the store, the malls, and you get their pack there, 10 of them, 12 of them, maybe for €3. You
Which is
get
not good. Which is
the
not good. You're paying
no,
more. you're paying more for less and
Yeah.
in nutrition. You know what I'm
So
saying?
it makes people get to eat this food because then it's not something that they had access to. Okay.
Right.
So I'm not going to be the worst person here. I like being honest with life. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
French person who is French from their great mother, they're going to eat their bread and their croissants the way their grandmothers were eating, because these things we follow, they're
Mm-hmm.
genetics, right? And so people like me who come from another country, they have never seen croissants in your country. This is not, it's just, it's sweet, it's good, it's oily, it's smelling good, and we
Right.
jump into it. Okay, it's not
Right.
our in our culture, it's not in our blood. So when we say there could be truth in in that thing that French people they eat badly, not all French people. Okay, there are
I get it.
French people who are the people who are living in France who have come with different cultures, and they see after watching the movies as well. When we watch Americans and they're eating all the things they eat, and we go to the shop and we all see these things that are around there, well, we eat them. I never knew muffins being sold in France before because
Right.
it's not typically French thing.
Right.
But now you go to every other store, you'll find muffins,
Right.
cupcakes. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's not French food, but you're going to find them everywhere. So we got mixed up, and then, as I would say again, when I came here, I used to find myself among the fattest women, the weight, and
Right. Right. Right.
I've never been overweight because the woman, the French, as we call them, the petite, la petite, they had that small size. Okay,
Right.
now we're almost becoming like Americans because the food is
Exactly.
in abundance. Okay, cool. Okay, the other one. So the other fifth myth is soy-based foods are harmful to your health.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll start saying not all soy is equal. Okay, so if the soy is genetically modified, it's conventionally grown or highly processed, that is not good soy. I'm not talking about that. Obviously, it's not good for your health. Okay, that is true. However, soybeans as just beans themselves, they are no different than the kidney beans. Okay, that we can
Right.
tell you eat your kidney beans if they're organically grown and they're just boiled and eaten the way they are supposed to be eaten, like any other kidney beans. There are no problem with that. The only thing comes with that processed, and then the soybeans have a phytochemical we call the phytoestrogen.
Mm-hmm.
Flax seeds have also that phytoestrogen. That means they have molecules like estrogen that we have in our bodies. And however, how when our natural estrogen can be harmful when it's high,
Mm-hmm.
the phytoestrogen will come and protect. Okay, so soybean when it's really into its natural state, the way if it was in the nature before, the way it is cancer protective, especially for the hormonal cancers.
Gotcha.
Okay, so when you're eating your soy, know where it's coming from. That's only the difference.
Yeah, I don't consume soy at all. I don't
Do you
mess with
have
soy
any reason why?
here because it's here in the states. After our conversation with
Yeah.
the soy here in the states,
Mhm.
I don't even. I don't do it.
Yeah, for sure. If it's genetically modified, if it's highly processed, you see, just like me, I would buy soy and I would go to the organic shops here and I'll buy soy. However, I will not go to Chinese shops and buy soy from there. I
Right.
would buy beans, okay, and I can cook the beans, but I will not go buying tofu from those shops because I don't know how they were processed.
Exactly.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you should avoid all processed foods. That is the myth number 6.
Absolutely.
Okay. Processing food just meaning changing the matrix of the food. Sometimes we can get wrapped up not knowing what does processed means. When you get grain, I can get rice and put it on my blender and blend it to wheat. I sometimes do that in the house instead of buying wheat flour. I
Hmm.
process that food from wheat grain to the flour. That is a process. But now, what is not good for you is when it's ultra processed, when we have removed the nutrients. Now instead of having the brown wheat, the brown rice, you have the white rice, and now that is processed, and we can go. It's not yet ultra processed, but it's processed and it lost its nutrients. However, if you start eating rice crackers, okay, there is ultra processed. Okay, when
Okay.
you get oats, you get there is still cut oats, that is oat that has been cut in small pieces, and you have old fashioned oats that have been steamed and then pressed so that you can have them for breakfast, and then you have instant oats. I will tell you, don't eat your instant oats, but you can eat your old fashioned oats. What's the difference? They are not processed the same way. The
Right.
ultra is going to cook very fast, and so it doesn't have the same amount of fiber like than the other one. Okay, so avoiding ultra processed food because they're not good for your health. But every processed food doesn't mean it's bad for you. Otherwise, we wouldn't buy wheat because wheat is already processed. Okay,
Right.
the same thing, we don't take our milk from the cows. Okay, so the milk is processed in a way that is heated and packed so that you can get it. The milk nuts, the almond nuts, it's processed so that you get the milk, or you get the nut butter. So there is that processing. So we be careful. We can say avoid all the processed food, but avoid highly processed food that don't have nutrients. And in most cases, they have been added sweeteners and food coloring, and also flavors to enhance the food, because we have been removing food, the raw material, and then as we go with less food, we start trying to make the food taste better.
Right.
Okay. The other one is the myth number 7 is multigrain and whole grain are the same thing. Do you get the catch here? Multigrain and whole grains are the same thing.
Now that's something I didn't know.
They're not the same thing. Okay, multigrains means any grains that have been assembled together. Okay, you
Uh,
can get rice, barley, and wheat, and you put them together. Those are multigrains. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not processed. Okay. However, when I say whole grains, I'm meaning wheat, barley, and oats that are still whole. They haven't been processed in a way
right.
that the nutrients, they are denatured, they don't have the nutrients. Okay. So, whole bread versus white bread, there is whole bread and the white bread that is no longer having the same nutrients. So, whole
Right.
grains and multigrain are not the same thing. And for some people, whole grain means the rice or the grain has the same size as the way it was harvested. Okay. Versus short being cut. So when someone will say, "Are you having a whole grain rice or a short cut rice?" Because they can cut the rice into small particles so that it can be easy to cook, I think. So make the difference. Whole grains, when we talk about whole grains, we are not just talking about the size of the grain, we are talking about the fact that the nutrients are still there. They haven't been processed as such to be called processed food.
Gotcha.
Okay, so whole grains, they contain more nutrients than the the processed food, the white grains. Myth number 8 is eggs are the most healthy foods. How many eggs do you eat in a day?
I kind of slacked off it after having a conversation with you. So I used to do two boiled eggs
Okay.
every morning,
Okay.
but I've slacked off of them.
Okay. That's a good thing. Everyone in the internet is promoting eggs, and I've seen even very famous doctors, they say they eat like 4 eggs in a day. Well, eggs are not healthy for everyone. Okay. And I wrote a book for that. There are some scientific studies that point the danger of consuming more than 1 egg a day. It increases the risk of death. Even when I did the deep research, there's nowhere they're saying 2 eggs is okay.
Right,
You can eat your eggs, but you still have to be very careful. One, you have to reduce if you want to go for those 2 eggs a day, you reduce the animal products that you're eating. And you have to have those 2 eggs in a very balanced diet. That means you're having fiber to protect the negative effects of eggs.
right,
Okay. I thought we should make an episode, a podcast about eggs, because eggs has a lot of things we can talk about, and I have written a book about that, so we can look at the what is it about the eggs, because one, eggs can be allergic. There are a lot of people, especially when you're having autoimmune disease, you have to be very careful. Where I really get concerned is people with the diabetic,
hmm
because they can't eat carbs, they rush into proteins. And do you know what they eat a lot? Are the eggs. And what are the studies saying? Eggs, especially for diabetics, will increase the mortality, the risk of mortality. Okay? Because the eggs in itself, the egg increases the insulin.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, after that
Okay.
conversation,
Mhm.
I threw a whole carton of eggs out.
Oh, come on, you weren't supposed to throw
I'm
them
just being real. I'm just being real. So,
Okay.
uh,
Myth number 9, gluten-free diet is only for celiac disease. We talked about gluten last time, and so no, gluten sensitivity is real, not only to people who are celiac, who are diagnosed with the disease. The other day, I had my course, and there is this lady who asked, "Can gluten cause fatigue?" And I was like, have you noticed any change after you eat your gluten? And she said, yes, she feels tired. She feels out of energy. And so I would say gluten, it's, well, for those who haven't watched the podcast or they haven't listened to it, we're going to send the link with this podcast to the gluten podcast so that you can at least understand what is gluten and why is it problematic. And so if you're having inflammation, be careful. It could be because of the gluten, or it could be exacerbated by gluten. Okay.
right.
So I'm not going to go deep into that because there is that podcast for that. But just to say that's a myth, because I have had people saying, well, if you don't have any celiac disease, you can have you have your bread. But I think there is also that thing of the industry. The industry is really big, multi-million industry, and they can push everything to anyone.
Right.
And even if it is coming from the mouth of your doctor, you don't know what he has been paid behind. So I'm just
Absolutely.
saying, I'm just saying. Myth number 10, you can eat anything you want at any time. What do you think about that?
You can't because certain things over the years I've eaten, and let's just say like meat.
Yeah.
Like nowadays,
Mhm.
I actually during this recovery, I don't eat past 5 p.m.
Okay.
Nothing,
Do you
nothing.
have any
Maybe
reason for that?
because laying down on a, let's just say if I don't even eat red meat anymore, but it's hard to process after. Yeah, Acts is hard to process in normal hours. So can you imagine me eating a steak and laying down on it.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. And that's the importance. And I really um, congratulate you to understand your own body, how is your body is working. Like you can't just go, you need the proteins for
Right,
sure, because you need to rebuild, you need to repair, but you have to know when are you going to eat that food, that when are you going to eat that protein.
right,
Okay. Like they understand there's some people who like any kind of fat, even like an avocado or nuts at certain hours in the evening, it's they're going to stop them from sleeping. They're going to prevent them from sleeping. So
right,
understanding your dynamics, okay? So you can't eat anything you want at any time because well, food doesn't really yeah, unless then you become a slave of the food.
right,
It's like the food is the one that is really monitoring you what you want to do, because one, we look at it this way, you have to have time to digest your food. I'll start with the gut microbiome. When you eat, there is the first, you eat, you digest your food, it goes to the small intestine and it gets the nutrients go to the blood, and then what you didn't digest goes to the microbiome, the one that's in the colon, and there they start digesting the food. Now if there is
oh,
digesters, the first bit are going to be blood. And then they are going to have a byproduct. Like say, like they're going to poo, and there is another the other strain kind of bacteria, they're going to use that byproduct, that poop, to feed themselves. I'm not saying it's poop, I'm just saying it.
right.
Okay.
I get
So for the other to digest, for the first one to digest and break the food so that the other one can feed themselves, you should not have food coming in, because once you start eating again, this process is closed so that this one can start eating again. They prepare for the food that is going to come. So
right.
if you keep on eating, there are some bacteria that are never going to eat because they are always waiting for these ones to break down the food. Okay.
Gotcha.
um, the other one is the hormones. So right now you just woke up. When you wake up, your body is high in cortisol. So if you go rushing into a breakfast, you wake up and start taking your highly processed breakfast, you raise your cortisol. Cortisol doesn't allow, I mean, inhibits digestion. Okay. So now you eat your highly processed food with high glucose, and now you can't digest because you have cortisol. It's a natural thing. Like when you wake up, I think it's like that thing we came from with in the wild, from the wildness. Like, you know, when you wake up, you have to be alert what is there. Okay. So you have to
Right,
be active, right? So when you wake up, don't take highly um, glucose kind of food, because that the glucose cortisol is going to limit that digestion. The same thing in the evening. I think we talked about the circadian rhythm. When now in the evening, now like me here, we are with 15 o'clock, and our bodies are going to start slowing down. The cortisol is going down so
going down.
that we can
Right,
go to sleep, right? People who are in advance, maybe who are in 18 hours in their countries, the body, the system is already saying, hey, the sun is going to set. And so as we're
time to
going
go
to
to
sleep,
sleep.
and
Right,
so we're going to produce melatonin. Okay.
right.
And so melatonin is a sleeping hormone, and melatonin affects glucose. Okay.
Oh,
So
okay.
you can't just eat what you want.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
The last myth is you can't get enough proteins from plants. Okay, last time we talked about what last time?
Plant based.
Plant-based food.
Yeah.
Okay, there is a myth that people will ask you, where do you get your proteins when you get to a plant diet? But there is always something that people forget. When we talk about protein, mostly we should say the amino acids, the ninth and essential amino acid, because you there's some food you can eat and they're going to combine themselves and make the other proteins. But the nine essential amino acids, they must come through your diet, come from your diet. Okay. So can you get all your amino acids from the food from the plant? Yes. but you have to combine your food proteins, your food plants properly. All plants contain 20 amino acids, but in different quantities. Okay.
Right.
So, for example, if you go to Google right now and you type about corn, corn is high in, whoa, time to go to the toilet. Is it okay? Is that okay?
It's fine. Oh, he's fine. He's
Okay.
just alerting. That's fine.
Okay. So if you type corn, corn is high in protein. So you might say, okay, fine, corn is high in protein. Let me just eat corn. But corn is high in proteins that are not essential for your body. Okay. So you
Mhm.
need to find the food combinations that are going to create the 9 amino acids that are essential for your body, and you can't get them. The body can't make them. So yes, you can get all your plants from protein from plants, but you have to be very careful with the combination because there's no one plant that has all 9 amino acids in good quantity. Okay. So we are going to take, for example, peas. Peas are high, they're good proteins. They have all the aminos, all those 9 essential aminos, but there are some amino acids that are essential and they are low. You take quinoa, you take seeds, chia seeds. Quinoa is a complete. Chia seed, it is, but it's really low in some of the amino acids. I think it's methionine. Okay. So knowing to combine them, and you can make a complete protein.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. This is a well-ran podcast, Catherine. Congratulations. We're running up on a
Thank you.
15 hour and the 8 a.m. hour here in the States and 15 hour in France.
Yeah.
This is you're getting great at this. You're getting good. Good
Thank
stuff,
you.
man.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Good
It's
stuff.
my desire. It's my mission. I feel I should speak. Bring this awareness. Like, yeah, we should know. Should know.
Exactly. Very informative information, man. Very, very,
Thank you.
very
Thank you. Thank
informative
you.
information. Tell the folks where they can actually find your podcast on your YouTube channel.
So, yeah, I have my YouTube channel is Catherine Gedu. We're going to, when I post my, I can't post it here now. I'm sorry. I was going to say I'm going to post it here. Well, I'm going to post it on Facebook, and then you can find me on YouTube as Catherine Gedu, and you can listen to the podcast that we have posted here. And I have a breakfast book. I didn't bring it with me here. I'm sorry for that. And that book you can get it through Amazon. Amazon. Sorry for that, as well as from my food blog. That is website foodandheal.com. Well, and about the eggs, if you want to know why eggs aren't that healthy for you, I'm not saying you shouldn't eat them, but if you really want to go deep, you have that
Right.
book, 7 reasons why you should think about taking eggs. It's in Amazon as well. But I'm going to
Exactly.
put them in as I put the YouTube, this podcast, I'm going to link those books there as well.
Good stuff.
So get informed, because it's necessary at this time not just to believe what the others are saying. I'm also others among others. Try the best, and I really said to the universe, I want to know the truth out of the truth. And so I'm not saying I am the one who have the real truth, but I am not trying to bridge anything. I bring the information as naked as it is, because that's also
Absolutely.
what has helped me to go through it. I have put myself into questions sometimes, especially when it comes to plant food, because there are some things I found that I was missing by going through the plant. And I was like, if I don't get the supplements and if I don't eat meat, then I'm missing a lot. And I imagine all the people who we are telling plant-based or vegan diet is the way to go. You go with the information. Okay. You don't just go like because an ostrich, you go with with head buried in the sand.
Right, right,
We
right.
need to get informed. So thank you so much for tuning whatever you're tuning in. Thank you so much for being here and being supportive. I love this, and I hope to meet you on Thursday.
Good stuff. And Catherine has a wonderful for the bloggers, those who love reading blogs. You can catch Catherine's blogs over at foodandheal.com. I placed it on the screen.
Thank you.
Foodandheal.com. And of course, you
Thank
could actually get these podcasts, the nutrition edition of the conversation, on taken.com. Taken.com. You can catch those podcasts as well as the ones I do on Sundays with Coach D talking about relationships, politics, anything. We call it Gumbo Talk over there on Conversation with Trent and Friends on Saturdays, on Sundays, I'm sorry, on the Taylor Kennedy Network. So good stuff. That's with Coach D and Shan on Sundays at 7 p.m. Central Time in the States. And also another lineup too. It's a podcast for men. I do that podcast. I started that podcast, launched it early in the week. I think it was on Monday. I did. Launched it on Monday with a guy I call Slash. Is a wonderful, wonderful addition here on the conversation, man.
Yeah. Let's
Hey,
break down the egg part.
okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. From here to there, have a nice day. Have a nice evening. Blessings to everyone, and talk to you soon.
Good stuff. You guys be epic. Talk soon, Catherine.